Imagine the unimaginable. The world's great powers, United States and United Kingdom versus China and Russia, locked in all-out war. This isn't a prediction, but a thought experiment to reveal the terrifying realities of 21st century global conflict. In our interconnected world, such a war would shatter supply chains, crash markets, and devastate societies everywhere. The scale would dwarf anything in history, blending industrial carnage with the speed and precision of modern technology. Ultimately, in a war of this magnitude, the idea of winning is meaningless. Everyone loses, and the shadow of nuclear weapons makes the stakes existential. Only diplomacy and the avoidance of conflict can prevent catastrophe. On one side, the US-UK alliance, core of NATO, wields unmatched global reach, projecting power from a vast network of bases and dominating the world's oceans. Their doctrine relies on technological superiority, stealth, and the ability to strike anywhere. Opposing them, China and Russia form a Eurasian bloc, leveraging geography, mass, and regional dominance. China controls the South China Sea and rapidly expands its military. Russia commands vast land forces and resources, threatening Eastern Europe and the Arctic. Allies like Iran and North Korea add complexity, stretching Western resources. The US-UK coalition excels in mobility and expeditionary warfare, controlling maritime trade and wielding advanced tech. China and Russia, meanwhile, fight close to home, exploiting shorter supply lines and fielding carrier-killer missiles and massive land armies. Their strategy makes intervention so costly that Western powers hesitate. This dangerous asymmetry sets the stage for a global struggle. The first flashpoint, the Indo-Pacific, especially the South China Sea, where China's militarized islands clash with US naval power. Here, carrier strike groups face off against Chinese fleets, submarines, and anti-ship missiles, while advanced fighters battle for air superiority. Simultaneously, Eastern Europe erupts as Russia pushes into the Baltics, triggering a massive NATO response and brutal ground combat. The war expands beyond land, sea, and air. Cyber attacks cripple power grids, financial systems, and communications, sowing chaos far from the front lines. In space, both sides target satellites with missiles, lasers, and jammers, blinding each other and threatening all modern military operations. The loss of satellite capabilities would cripple coordination and intelligence, escalating confusion and risk. Cyberspace and space become silent, invisible battlegrounds, as vital as any physical front. The war's reach is total, from the depths of the ocean to the digital ether and the stars above. Every domain is contested and no place is truly safe. The world becomes a battlefield. In manpower, China and Russia hold the edge, over 3 million active troops to the US-UK's 2 million, especially dominating in ground forces. But at sea, the US-UK alliance reigns supreme, fielding 13 aircraft carriers to China and Russia's 3, enabling global power projection. In the air, the West commands over 13,000 aircraft, including hundreds of stealth fighters, outmatching the Eurasian bloc's 6,000 planes. This air and naval dominance allows the US-UK to enforce blockades, strike deep inland, and control key theaters. The West's financial firepower is staggering, a combined defense budget exceeding $900 billion, fueling advanced tech, training, and global logistics. China and Russia spend less than half that, limiting their ability to match Western capabilities over time. The technological gap is significant. Stealth, satellites, and precision weapons favor the US-UK. Yet, in a drawn-out ground war, sheer numbers and proximity could give China and Russia a local advantage. The balance is delicate: quality versus quantity, reach versus mass. The outcome would hinge on which side could exploit its strengths faster. The new frontiers, cyber and space, would define a 21st century world war. Cyber warfare would erupt instantly, with both sides targeting power grids, financial systems, and military networks to paralyze their enemies before the first shot. At sea, US-UK carrier groups face China's carrier-killer missiles, forcing them to operate farther from shore and creating vast contested zones. In space, anti-satellite weapons would blind militaries, crippling communications, navigation, and intelligence. The battle for air superiority evolves. Stealth fighters and swarms of autonomous drones clash in the skies, hunting high-value targets and overwhelming defenses. The side that best integrates manned and unmanned systems and adapts to the chaos of cyber and space warfare will seize the advantage. These domains are now as decisive as any tank or warship. The war's outcome could be decided by invisible code, or a single missile in orbit. The future of conflict is everywhere, all at once. War is a contest of economies as much as armies. The US-UK alliance commands a $27 trillion economic base, with the dollar's dominance enabling devastating sanctions and financial warfare. China and Russia counter with $21 trillion in GDP, China's manufacturing might, and Russia's energy leverage, pressuring Europe and fueling their war machine. The US-UK would blockade sea lanes, starving Eurasian industries of resources and trade. China and Russia would rely on continental rail networks, bypassing maritime choke points and sustaining their war effort. The global economy would shatter, supply chains break, markets crash, and shortages spark unrest everywhere. The economic fallout would be catastrophic, with inflation, famine, and instability spreading far beyond the battlefield. In this war of attrition, every nation would suffer, regardless of allegiance. The true cost would be paid by the world. Above all looms the specter of nuclear war. Over 13,000 warheads held by the US, UK, Russia, and China. If one side faced defeat, the temptation to escalate could trigger a nuclear exchange. A single tactical strike, on a fleet or battlefield, would almost certainly spiral into all-out retaliation. Cities would vanish in firestorms, millions would die instantly, and nuclear winter would follow, plunging the world into darkness and famine. No nation would survive as a functioning society. Radioactive fallout would poison the earth for centuries. Past war games predict hundreds of millions dead in hours, with civilization itself at risk. There is no defense, no victory, only shared annihilation. The only rational path is peace, however difficult. The lesson is clear. In a nuclear world, war is unwinnable. Diplomacy is humanity's last best hope.